we have them on our website listed by church, so you're able to see who's your mentor if you don't know who they are. They have their email on there, you can always email them. So going into who is CF, we have the two counselors, myself and Catherine. You'll see us between workshops or sometimes online doing another event. So we do help everyone in the community. This starts from middle school, even younger than middle school, all the way to our re-entry adults. So if you look at our services, you'll see for middle school, we do the workshops like these. We come every spring. So we typically start in January up until April. We do workshops like these for middle school. Then for high school, we'll focus on our workshops as well, but mainly how to get into college and on the application process. And that's typically between August and November. That's for all the high school students. We do workshops like these. So if maybe who wants us to come again in the fall, then you'll see us for high school. Then we have our college professionals and students. They are the ones who now get the support at the college setting. And if they need scholarships, we also help them with that. We have our graduate scholarship if they continue with their education. Okay, before I continue, I want to go over the agenda, and then I want to hear from everyone in the room. So, how many of you are in 5th grade? Anyone lower than that? 4th grade? Good, okay. What about 6th grade? And 7th grade? 8th? Wow, we have a good mix. And then 9th? No, 9th? Okay, we have some 9th. Any 10th? Thanks for being here. Yes, let's do it. 11th? Okay, we got some mix here. And we have seniors in the house? No seniors? Okay, the seniors are probably too busy right now figuring out where they're going for college, which is totally fine. Before we get started, I want to introduce myself, and then we'll kind of give you a little bit about the workshop today. So I came from Egypt to high school as a freshman, and it was very hard for me to understand what is needed of me to continue my education. And of course, some of you might be on the same page as far as mom and dad not knowing, well, what are my options, or how do I even get through high school successfully? So that was me. I was the first-gen student, and I remember throughout high school, I was just focused on the academics, because I was very stressed on doing well. In Egypt, it's completely different than here. And I remember I was top 3 or top 5 in my Egyptian school there. It was an American school, but it was not at the same level as the American schools here. So when I came here, I was doing AP classes, honors classes, thinking, oh, I'm going to do well because I'm top 3 over there. And then I ended up not doing very well. The first year, my freshman year, I think I had like C, some D, and then maybe a B. I didn't see any A's. And that really discouraged me from continuing on my education. Or just in general, like, what did I do wrong? Am I doing something wrong? So from then, junior year came in, because that was when they started talking about college. You know, in class, they'd say, oh, where are you guys going to college? And I'm over here like, oh, college now is an option. I have no idea. I'm just trying to make it through high school. So then they said, okay, well, meet with your counselor and figure out where you're going to go to college. At that time, I lived in Orange County, so Irvine, and I went to Woodbridge High School. So that was a very good school. I would say top 3 in Irvine. But to be top 10 at that school, it's very hard because I'm not at that level. And a lot of the people that were there were going to those Ivy Leagues. And so my options were, do not leave the home, because you're not allowed to leave the home, and you have to find a UC or a Cal State that will take you at your level, at my academic level. So at that time, I applied to UCR, UCI, Cal State Fullerton, and Cal State Long Beach. Where do you think I got in? Yeah, which one? Which one? Which Cal State? Long Beach or Fullerton? Fullerton, yes. I love Irvine or going to Orange County, Irvine, UCI was the Harvard of Orange County to everyone in the Coptic community. They loved UCI, and UCI is an amazing school. I never say anything about it, but it's not for everyone. It has to be for you. So that's something I want to mention before I even start the workshop, is that you have to pick a school that's speaking to you and your journey that you wish to have the next 4 years, maybe sometimes 5 years. So yes, I ended up taking an SAT exam at UCI just to put myself on campus. And I was like, no, I don't see myself going there. It's not the school I thought I would want to go for college, at least. But then I went to Long Beach, and I love that they have the pyramid on campus. I don't know if you've seen it, but they have a massive pyramid. It's a building. I didn't get in, so I couldn't go. I was like, okay, fine. That's not God's plan. Then I went to Cal State Fullerton. It was, at that time, I wasn't admitted yet, but they did have something called New Student Orientation. It was for new students that were admitted. It was an event on campus. And I took my dad at that time. I said, hey, you want to kind of just see the campus? And I remember they treated us as if we were already part of the school, that I was one of their students and they wanted to help me. I was like, no, I'm not here as a new student. I'm actually just visiting. But I realized, I see myself there as a student because they're really willing to help me and make me feel safe on campus. And that's what I needed, to feel like, okay, this is a place where I can see myself in another 4 years. So I mentioned this story because it is important to remember where your pros and cons list when you're applying for schools, what works for you and what works for others. It doesn't have to work for you. So I know when I always ask students, where do you want to go to college? And I hear, oh, UCLA or Harvard or some Ivy League. Might not be realistic for you, or might not be what you actually love. I've known some people who went to those nice schools all the way where it's snowing all the time, and they're like, I don't want to be here. Yes, I belong here academically, but I don't like being here. Emotionally, they didn't feel very, not safe, I would just say it was a culture shock for them. So they wanted to go back and be with their family. So you do really want to visit the campus before you apply to see if this is something I can do the next 4 or 5 years. Okay, so that being said, were there anything that I said, or maybe something that you heard from all this that you said, you know what, I want to learn more about that in general, not from my story, just in general, like something that you want me to emphasize on today, maybe a topic that you're like, this is a hurdle for me, it's a stressor, I need more information. Sandy, can you go over it? So I just need topics that you guys are looking forward to. That way I can make sure I emphasize them throughout the workshop. Any topics? For example, is the SAT, ACT still required? Should I take it? I get that question a lot. So examples like that. Exit exam. Oh yes, we get a lot of questions about that. Okay. Honors and AP? Okay. Okay.
And also the form that the same form that the parents can do it, that will be helpful in the future for the kids when they apply for the
What kind of form is it?
599 or 599? I don't
It's for savings account for, I see.
That will help for the future
Sure.
when they apply for loans.
Okay. Okay, those are really good questions. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
For the younger kids, like elementary and middle school, which extracurriculum activity is more important for them for college?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. We'll definitely emphasize a lot of talk about extracurricular activities, so definitely thank you for bringing that up. Okay. These are all good questions. Anything else? Yes.
You can ask him another. You can ask him another.
Also, do you mind if we get the code for the iPad?
Maybe for those of us who, as you know, like are new here, we have colleges here, an overview of the process.
Okay.
What do we need to learn about? Where would we go? What resources do we have?
Awesome. Okay. Thank you guys. This is great. It's a good start. And I do speak Arabic as well, so if you have any questions in Arabic, please just say them and I'll try my best to answer in Arabic as well. Yes. Is it on here? Yeah. Thank you.
That's one cross 2040.
Oh, nice. Okay.
2040.
Okay. All right. So the first part of this is anyone picking between a private or a public school? Or do you all know which high school you're going to? Yes? Everyone knows what high school they're going to?
Yes.
Public? All public? Any privates? Okay, no worries. One thing I will mention, if you're picking between two publics, because that's also important, looking at something called a school profile. And you can find that at any website on the high school. So if we look one together, I can do that with you because I like doing that. So if we look at a high school, what's a good high school you would like me to look at? A name?
Stockdale High School.
South Bay?
Stockdale.
Stockdale. Okay, but you're gonna have to help me spell that, but okay. S-O? S-T-O? C-K? There it is. Okay. Sorry. So, Stockdale High School. If we go on their website, a lot of you are going here?
Yes.
That's
This
not
is
good.
the official one.
Question, how many of you are in the same level going there? Like, let's say my friend is the same level as me and she's going there, or my friend is in high school now and I'll be there, but not the same level. So how many are the same level?
What is that?
Meaning like, okay, my friend is the same level as me. I'm gonna be a freshman as her in high school, but we're going to the same high school. How many?
Yeah, 95% of the
Okay.
church.
Okay. No, okay, I'll tell you why. So let's go into their website. I'm trying to find about. It's typically under about, and then right here, you see school profile? You see it on the right? Go in there. And this is awesome that they have it right on the first page. Typically, it's hard to find. If it's hard to find, that tells you about the school. They're not as organized. So just remember that little tip. But okay, going to the profile, they give you a breakdown. I mean, this one is a little shorter than the rest of them typically. They give you a breakdown of the programs they have, the AP classes, the honors classes, how many of the seniors there get into a UC and Ivy League, so the percentages. So if we look, it's not too much information, but they'll tell you the demographics. It looks like the AP scores. You have in 2022, 72% of their population received a score that's 3 or better, which is good. Again, this is a little outdated. If you can find the most up-to-date profile, or maybe even going back to their website, we can go under activities. And they have maybe a list of all their activities. So there's another place for you to see if this is something for your student, for your child. Why I like to see this is because it gives you the reality of what this high school is going to provide for your student. Now, is it realistic at the same level as your child, or is it very high and very rigorous for them to do well at that high school? So you want to give them a high school that's almost at the same level as the middle school they're in now, or a little challenging, but not too challenging, because then you lose them and they're not doing very well. Now, the question I asked at the beginning, when you said, oh, you're going to the same high school in the same level, unfortunately, if you're going to do that route, all of you, if you're applying, let's say, to UCI, you're all competing with one another. It's not that you're going to compete with another person in another high school, you're competing with one another in the same high school. Why? Because they're going to probably pick the top 10% or whatever they look at from your high school. Then they'll go to the second high school and move forward. So when it comes from your high school, what they look at is everything, really. I mean, it's not one thing anymore. But they look at what did you take advantage of at that high school to bring to their college in comparison to someone else at that high school. So I have 2 girls who took, let's say, I don't know how many APs you guys have here, but let's say you have 20 AP classes offered. And one of the girls took 5, and another girl took maybe 10. And then the other girl that took 10 was also working, and maybe had some type of internship, or yeah, let's just think of some internship, yeah. That profile there is very solid compared to someone who just took 5, and that's all they did at the high school. So I just want to mention that if we're looking at the same high school and being honest with the level of your kid going into another high school. Any questions on selecting a high school? Yes.
So just the number of AP classes does matter, or the kind of AP class that you take?
Oh, I like that. So it does matter how many you take and how well you do. So if I am doing an AP class that's, say, history, and I don't like it, and I know I'm struggling in it, then stay away from taking a AP history. I would pick a subject for AP specifically, and a subject that you really like. I will mention though, the way AP classes work is they give you an extra like bump or boost into your GPA. Let's say they get a B, that's considered an A. Same thing for a C, that's considered a B. You don't want to get a C in an AP class, but I would still either a B or higher than that for an AP class. I'll go over the difference, the whole profile in a sec, as far as what do they look at besides grades, because there's a lot more than just the grades, but yeah. Okay, so we go back to the PowerPoint. We have another question? Okay. All right, this we'd like to mention it just because it does come up, and it could be something that we are not able to understand fully as a parent sometimes. You have a question?
Yeah, you mentioned something taking between 2 high schools, 2 different high schools.
Yeah.
I thought this meant being based on jurisdictional areas.
Sometimes within the area you have more than one high school public that you can choose from. Yeah, but you're right. You do have that pipeline dedicated to that district. Okay. So back to this point as far as the resource. If you feel like you know someone, it doesn't have to be your own student, but it's something that we need to just be aware of. Let's say your kid is taking longer than 20 minutes to complete a task, and this task only takes 5-10 minutes. Or let's say longer than that. They took 30-40 minutes to complete the task, but really it took 10 minutes. That can be certain indicators that they might have a delay in learning, or they need to be stimulated by something different to learn. I've seen students where I need to watch TV. They're not really watching TV. They just have TV on. They have music on Spotify, and they're doing some assignment that requires reading. How does that work? I mean, you're listening, you're visually looking, and you're also looking at the book. You're not retaining any info at that point. But I will mention it's becoming a habit that they need to do this, as it shows that they need to be stimulated by something different to retain that info. They might actually be retaining it through stimulation. So that is something we just want to recognize as a Coptic community. I know we're not as fortunate to talk about this, but we want to bring it up as a resource to you. CEF does have someone that has that resource. She is a school psychologist, and she knows a lot about this community. So if you do have someone that wants more information about this, we can definitely touch base with that person. Okay, sorry, it's like somebody's hitting. Okay, so going into the prep process for parents. I know we invited parents for a reason, to let you know how to help your student to kind of achieve those daily tasks or daily goals. We like to look at the SMART goal approach. Have we heard about the SMART goal approach, the acronym SMART? No? Oh, nice, okay. So SMART stands for S. What's the S stand for? Specific. What does the M stand for? It's measurable. The A, is it attainable? And the R, is it relevant or realistic? Sometimes it's interchangeable. And then your T is time-based. Am I doing something to the microphone? Is it me? Yeah, okay, because I don't know if it's bothering you guys. Okay, thank you. This is better? So then, the SMART goal. So I would love to take one of your SMART goals as an example. Who would like to give me a goal of yours? A goal that you want to focus on maybe the next, well, actually, we don't put time to it yet because we're going to discuss that. So give me a goal you would like to accomplish. Yeah. Getting the Golden Seal Award at the end of junior high. Can you tell us more about the actual award? What does that mean?
So basically, if you get all A's or principal's list and honor roll for 6 out of 8 quarters that you're there at the junior high school, you get that award.
Okay, so you need a specific time frame for that, it seems like. You said how many semesters?
6 out of 8.
6 out of 8. So that's about 6 months or more than 6 months?
It's quarters.
Quarters. Okay, that's like at least 2-3 years.
2.
2. Okay. So we got the time kind of already. So let's look into breaking this down as a goal, right? This is your goal. So specific. You were pretty specific with the goal. We're good on that. Is it measurable? I think so. In 2 years, can you get this done? Yeah. Okay, but what is the attainable part? How are you going to attain it? What is the plan to get this done? Focusing on the academics class. What about like maybe like a schedule to help you manage your time? Oh, nice. Planners? Yep, I love planners. What about, okay, so we said it's attainable. Is it relevant or is it realistic? I would say so. And then is it time-based? Yes. So see how we broke down a goal and we made sure if it fills every acronym or every letter. This is from the SMART approach. And for parents, it's very similar approach when you sit with your child and say, okay, what are long-term goals maybe and some short-term goals? It could be something within the week or something within the day or something within the month or at the end of the year. And it doesn't have to be academic. It could be something that I need to accomplish and learn more about. If I am such a passionate person about art, and I love painting. That's a small little hobby, but it's very important for me. Can you help?
Yeah, can you use this one?
Sorry, okay. Okay, so painting. Painting is a hobby of mine, and I want to take this on, but I'm not sure where to start. Where do you think you would tell your kid to start as a parent? Yeah. Oh. Yeah, maybe at an academic club at school, maybe start off with the art club. They have some material you can work with, okay? What else can I do at home though? Someone have a question?
Videos of practice.
I like that. Watch videos on practice, potentially on maybe YouTube. Yeah, that's another one. There's another resource. I'm not sure if it's going to be as helpful for you guys. It's called lynda.com, and it's more connected to LinkedIn, but they have a lot of tutorials on there. So if your parents have access to LinkedIn, they might be able to get access to Lynda. Okay? What about your local Michaels or local Hobby Lobby? Will you take your child and say, hey, you learned this now on this video, what materials do you need? Okay, we're gonna need to get these brushes, this paint, this type of paper, and give them a goal. And then we can say, okay, now that you've learned everything that you've learned, maybe by the end of the month, I want to see work done, or I want some drafts done. So at least you make this into something achievable for them and attainable at the same time. I am now taking this into an action, and that's something for them that's going to excite them about the activity. And if they end up not finding too much interest in it later on after they went through that process, that's okay. They were exposed to it, on to the next. And if something they loved, they can pursue that throughout high school and then maybe even college. Wait, 2-0. It's not good. Okay, that's what I thought. No. Oh, okay, that's better. Okay. So back to the school profile. or not school profile, sorry, your school profile technically, as far as the application goes. The biggest component now is your activities. So piggybacking on this painting example, that was an activity that we did outside of the class. Whether I did it with my mom, with my siblings, it took me a year, it took me a week. It was an activity, and then I dedicated time consistently to. And so when I'm now a counselor in the college applications, I'm reviewing your admissions application, I'm looking at several items. Yes, activities is, I would say, a good 50% of it at this point, as far as activities go. And then you have your academics, so your GPA, and GPA is kind of attached to your AP classes and your honors in a way. Then you have your essay, which is your personal statement. And that's where you talk a lot about, you know, who I am, what I've learned, what can I bring to your college. Then you have, some schools require it, if not all of them, a letter of rec. What's a letter of rec? Yeah, and where does it come from? Teachers, yep, mentors, if you have someone that's guiding you. It doesn't have to be a spiritual mentor, it could just be someone that's, hey, checking in on you. How are you doing? Are you achieving this goal? That's a mentor. And if you don't have one, I would highly recommend someone that you can trust. Might even someone who's doing what you want to do in the future and can guide you through the career that you're liking. And then of course a spiritual guide or a supervisor, that's another person that can write a letter of rec. So I mentioned like these components in the application to emphasize what they look at. And some of the things that we want to make sure that you look into for each activity or to qualities to have when you are in an activity is to have leadership, passion, and impact. What does that mean? What does leadership mean? Yes. Wait, I couldn't hear you, sorry.
Thank you.
Public speaking? Is that what you said?
Being able to control.
Oh, to be control, yes, to be able to delegate tasks and kind of guide a team, a group of people. Yes, definitely. So when you are a leader, naturally you're initiating some sort of activity or some sort of opinion or idea. Hey, I think we need to do this. Let's get it started. Let's start a committee. Let's start a group. That's a leader within themselves. So question, how many of you in this church alone see that there might be an issue we need to fix? You don't have to say the issue, but you see the issue and you need to fix it. Do we have an idea of maybe an issue that we need to fix? Just don't say the issue. Can you think of an issue we have with current maybe youth? We do, okay. So we have an issue. How about if the students take initiative in creating a committee to help with this issue? And they can involve servants, or maybe a mom or dad that can like kind of guide this committee and a group of individuals. This is something that you can add on your resume, you can add on your college apps. It becomes huge. So I'll tell you an example from one of the churches I went to, and it was very powerful because it became something internationally recognized. So a student, it was one of the girls though, sorry guys, but the girls end up having a little bit more, initiative. I'm just kidding. You guys are awesome. So when it comes to the initiative, she said that the girls were having part-time bonding. There was a lot of tension, there was drama, you know how it is, and sometimes, we get to a little catty, but they were talking behind one another, and it was creating not a lot of unity, and the church was not happy with the tension that was happening. So then, the girl, she ended up doing a FaceTime session for almost every other day at 9 p.m. And she said it started off with two girls, one of her close friends, and they would start off the FaceTime with Bible study for like 10 minutes, and then the rest of it they would just talk about anything. Obviously these are best friends. Okay, fine. Then one came and said, oh, let me bring my other friend. And the other one brought her other friend. This was over a year, she said. It was during COVID at that time. And she said, this group became almost 20 to 30 girls at a time in the FaceTime or whatever they started making now actual Zoom because it was getting bigger and bigger. Then she created an Instagram account. She said the students, or the girls, they felt like they needed to create this community for other women outside of their church. So the girl that created it thought, okay, this will be for the church. Then it became way more spread out internationally. Now the girl has international, like a little tag, and it has like tons of people from Dubai and Egypt that have told her, you have helped us bring a voice into the community to talk about all these things that women go through as just a Coptic woman. So the girl there, she said, I started this off, and she created that same model now at her high school, where they're creating a lot of really good events to bring certain awareness to certain issues internationally with women. You know, there's a lot of things that women go through internationally that we don't have the privilege to do, or they don't have the privilege to do that we do. So it's important to shed light on certain stuff, and she said this was a passion. I loved it. She took initiative. She had passion behind it. She had the three things: the leadership, the passion, and then she had an impact. She impacted not just her church. Of course, it solved the issue at that point, but everyone else too around her. So that would be something I wanted to mention to you as some examples, but if you look at other examples too, at the high school level, they'll have academic clubs, and honestly, they come in every subject. And if you don't see it, you can always create one. They also have business-related activities, like creating your own business. I have two girls who were creating bracelets. Does anyone like Taylor Swift? Yeah. So you all know about the bracelets? Yeah. So the girls created just at home, they were making bracelets, and their mom and dad were supportive of it, to the point where they made so many of them and put them on Etsy. And then guess what happened? What happened? They sold them, all of them. Yeah, they sold all of them, and they were sold out because of the concert. So if you can only imagine how much profit they made by just making bracelets. And that was just a small little thing that made them look unique to their community. Okay, another example, we have music. See, there's all kinds of music: marching band, concert band. You can even create your own band. I've known people that are in the Coptic community. I'm sure you guys know them. That did Daoud. You know this person that created the Has Daoud camp. You guys know them? He's a Coptic fellow. His name is Mina Busta. No one knows him? Wow. Well, he's a Coptic individual, and I don't know what church he's from, but he devoted a lot of passion to the oud, the instrument, and he has like amazing followers now. So that's someone who took music, created his own passion, now is performing at other events, maybe even Coptic events. So just giving you examples. And these are extreme, but if you start small, I promise it'll pay forward. Technology, we talked about, personal blogging, or even having your website, creating a YouTube channel, like informative videos. If you find something of passion, you can teach. Then some ways to get involved we have here as well. So you can see there's a variety, and if you don't know where to start, to be honest, the best advice we give students now, if you know someone in the community, let's say as a doctor, engineer, or psychologist, any of those good stuff that you guys want to pursue, and maybe you don't know you want to pursue, you just want to learn more about, you can go up to them on a Sunday, or whenever you see them at church, or even call them if you have their number and say, hey, I would like to come to your site, whether your office, or maybe it's an engineering site. If you cannot, which happens because of an age restriction, or no one should be there, that's only like an employer or employee, I get it, then you can have an informational interview where you can say, you know what, I understand, the confidential aspect of it. Can I interview you for 45 minutes? And you have a list of questions that you prepare for them. And it could be about, what do you do every day? What is the the relationship that you have with your clients? What's the demand with, is it a lot of admin? Do you do a lot of travel? You know, what does your degree look like, your resume? What did you have to do to get here? You know, these questions will help you decide, okay, yeah, I like that. I can see myself doing that. Or no, I'll move on to the next thing. To give you an example, when I was in high school, so I was actually supposed to be a doctor. I had biology, I was accepted for bio, I knew I wanted to be some type of physician. So I ended up doing a nursing assistant internship at a hospital. I did not really like it. Then I went to did a dental front office assistant, also like class, and I did an internship as well. I did not like it. Then, what else did I do? Oh, there was another medical, I was at like a senior group home trying to like also see if maybe I can support in that sense, but every time I tried, it was just not clicking. I felt like it's not it, you know? So then when I looked into psychology, because I took a class, I remember in high school, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I'm learning stuff that I can apply to myself and apply to others around me. So I liked that, but it still didn't click because psychology still, you know, you have to do a lot with that. So then I asked a lot of people, and this is where the interviews come in place. I had spoke to a couple professors and directors of like psychology clinics, and I asked them, you know, what does it take to become so-and-so doctor? And she was just like, do you want to be in school for another 12 years? I said, well, yeah, I have to be a doctor at this point. And she was like, well, do you know how much it's going to cost you? And I said, yes. And I understand her approach was not the best, but it put things in perspective for me. I'm like, a lot of the questions I had, or answers, I was just like, I never thought of these questions. I was like, what is going on? Was I doing this for me, or am I doing this for someone else? And at that time, Mom and Dad were the ones really pushing me. Be a doctor, be a doctor, be a doctor. Okay, but is it for me? And this is where I had to really do my investigation and bring back the investigation to my parents and say, look, this is not for me, it's not my calling. This is what I like. And here I am today helping so many other individuals with what I went through. But I had to find what clicked for me. And to give you, I didn't tell you where I went to school after Fullerton. So I went to Cal State Fullerton for psychology and a minor in human services. And then right after that, I went to USC for my master's in educational counseling. So that was for me, I felt like I had a purpose and I was achieving something that belonged to Sandy. So it's just, I wanted to point that out if you're still struggling with identifying. And I didn't know this until I finished college, like maybe senior year. I was like, oh, I can do this. And so it took a while, and that's totally fine. Okay, so back to now high school. We talked about getting involved, what they look at, but we want to know what to do in high school to get to these great schools. When you look at 9th grade, you're creating a solid plan when it comes to meeting with a counselor, having a plan academically for your 8th degree classes, and we'll talk about 8th degree in a sec here. And then just understanding what am I going to be involved in, program-wise. I understand I have all these options, but what am I going to do? So you get to pick a plan for the next 4 years. Then you look into 10th grade. You have now, bless you, 10th grade, you have a lot of grades still matter, but then now you start to look at SAT and ACT, and the last thing is very important, exploring campuses. So I would for sure talk, remember I told you guys about how I went to UCI and Fullerton? Those are all based on campus visits. So I would try to go to a campus if you can. How many of you have been to a college before? And which ones? Okay, is that a community college? Okay, what about like 4-year? Oh, nice, okay, what else? Any other 4-year colleges? Yeah. UCLA? UCR? UCLA? USC, okay? UCI, and all of these people that went to school, did you go because someone was there, or did you actually want to go see the school? Someone was there? Yeah, that's typically how it works, which is fine. Any other schools? No? Okay. So those are the schools that we know about, but guess how many are out there? In the UC alone, they have 9, and the Cal State alone, they have 23, and then in the Ivy Leagues, they have 20 plus, just in California. So if we expand our knowledge about the schools out there, then it will be easier for us to make that decision. Okay, down 11th grade, it looks like we go more into detail with grades, and most importantly is the grades at that point. And of course, figuring out like what leadership that you want to take on a little bit more advanced. So if you were someone that was just a player, you know, as tennis or basketball, and you're just a member as a freshman or as a sophomore, hopefully by 10th and 11th or 12th grade, you're team varsity or maybe team captain to help you understand. We like to see an increase in your leadership or even your academics. Nothing stagnant, because then that shows you're not taking advantage of the resources and just being a leader within your own community. Then you have 12th grade, which is senior year. That's the most important year, and that's when you apply. You're still focusing on grades, and you will probably take the last SAT or ACT test, and then apply for FAFSA, which is your financial aid. And we'll talk about financial aid in a sec. I will point, out of all these, honestly, there's 4 things to focus on throughout high school, consistently, and they have to be an increase. So you have your grades, whether it's an honors and AP class, and then you have your personal statements, that's reflecting on all your leadership, all the activities you've done, which go hand in hand with like honors and awards as well as certificates, in a way. Then you have your, so there's the first 2, and then your, your letter of rec. You need to have a professor-student ratio, professor relationship with your professor or mentor, so you have that as a backup if you need to ask for a letter of rec. And the other thing would be SAT or ACT. So to give you a little bit understanding of what's going on, before COVID, UCLA specifically, and I'll mention UCLA because the numbers were very high for UCLA. As you know, the SAT and ACT, they were required for all the UCs before COVID. So now, right before COVID, the numbers were 85,000 applications submitted into the UCs. That's all the seniors that applied or transfer students, they got 85,000. Okay, so that's the number before COVID. And that's when SAT and ACT was required. Then COVID hit. Everybody said, oh, there's no SAT and ACT required, I will apply. So then that 85,000 went to, just recently last year, it went to 120,000. Just recently, I would say maybe another 10,000 last year. So they're going up in numbers just because SAT and ACT are not required. Now they're coming back and saying, well, a lot of students are using AI to submit personal statements. So we need the SAT and ACT scores to rely on those numbers and of course the GPA to admit them. So now we're seeing the SAT is coming back and the ACT, they're coming back for admission purposes. So far, the privates are the only schools requiring them for admissions, and not all of them, some. So if you are contemplating on taking them, all of you are young enough, this might affect all of you, so please take the SAT and ACT. Now, if you're not sure which one, that's easy. Take both, and if you don't like a score, stay away from that test, and then continue on with the higher score and perfecting that score. I will mention, if you are doing anything in the STEM field, as far as a major, and you know that, then do the ACT, because that has the science in it. And they like to see that you're evaluating yourself in that category. But again, if you're not going to do well in the ACT, and you know that, that's okay as well. In the event that you take both, always submit the higher score. Questions on anything? Yes? Yeah.
How early can they take the SAT or ACT? How early is it?
They can take the practice test as early as sophomore year, which is the 2nd year, and then the actual test, yes, as a high school student. So 10th grade, practice test, and then junior year, they take the actual test, either one. And if they don't like the score, they can take it again as a senior, but that first semester, fall. No later than fall, because there's a deadline for the application and they need to see that score if they require it, of course.
So, yes, yeah, seventh grade, they have another chance, 11th grade, and 12th grade first.
100%.
Okay, the second question is back to the letter of recommendation.
Yes.
How would they, I think you mentioned, you got a letter of recommendation from many individuals, office, professors.
Yes.
How would they get access to the professor?
Sorry, the professor and teacher is an interchangeable term I use, but at the high school level, they have teachers. Professors are typically at the college level. I know I use it a lot, but it's the teachers that you would ask them for letters, or your counselors sometimes as well. A lot of them do that, actually, the high school counselors.
High school teachers work as well.
Mhm. Especially if they have a good relationship with the student. Yeah. The most important for any recommendation letter, even if you're applying for a job, is for someone to speak on your academic ability and your professional ability, if it's application. Do we have a question? Yeah.
Would you recommend taking the test for the last 2 years of high school?
Oh, the exit exam. I'll touch base, that was not on there. Okay, so the CHESP, where it's now called CPP, I believe, or CSP. This is the exam that you can take, and I think I was gonna go over it. It's coming up. Yeah, it's coming up, sorry. We're too advanced. But yes, the exit exam is another route if you want to finish high school early by 2 years. But there's pros and cons to it. We'll talk more about that. But before we get into the A through G classes, any other questions on the timeline as far as what to do in high school? Okay. This is also important. So the list of classes that you need to know about are called A through G courses. When you hear that, these are classes that they take in high school to determine if they're eligible to graduate. A lot of these classes are repeated again, technically, but they're more advanced when you go to college. The first 2 years are going to be all general ed classes, the science, the math, the history, all that good stuff. So in high school, you're taking a certain amount of years in all these subjects. What you see there is just the minimum requirement to be eligible to graduate. That doesn't mean you're going to get accepted into UCLA or USC. To get accepted into those types of schools now, and I failed to mention, UCLA's admission rate now, it went from, I want to say 13% to 9% to 8.6%. It's single digits now. USC is 13 still. So just remember that difference in admission rates now. And I'm not saying this to scare you, but just to know that you are now competing with other students that are getting higher and higher GPAs, great personal statements, and they're getting accepted. So that takes away a spot from you. And that's what it comes down to. So if you can find a way to put yourself in those top 20 and have a peace of mind, anyone in this room should be able to get into any school they want to go to. If you all want to go to Harvard today and you say, I'm going to Harvard, in 6 years, I should say, ask your mom and dad to get into Harvard. Because if not, then you didn't really retain the info we told you today. We really want you to know it's important to know what's available and resources now, so you can take advantage of it now. It's not too late. We see a lot of high school seniors, all they're worried about was school, academics, which was just their grades. All they cared about was grades. And that doesn't help because they don't have a resume to support their grades. So we just want to make sure we mention that. Okay, so going into these classes, if I want to go to Harvard or I want to go to UCLA, I only mention these to the top schools. But any Ivy Leagues at that point, they would not be okay with this list. If we want history, 2 years, you want at least to have 3 to 4 years of history. For English, you want to have 4 years of English, which is required, yes, but your 3rd and 4th year should be an advanced class, maybe an honors class or an AP class. And all your high schools have that option. Some high schools, I will mention though, they don't have many AP courses, which is actually, doesn't hurt you. It just shows that you're not going to a high school that has those to the admissions counselors. And for them, they know that they didn't offer AP classes. So the student that's going there, if they took advantage of everything else that's a good student because they took advantage of all the resources at that school versus someone who had the 20 AP classes offered and they only took 1 or 2. Okay, math, we have 3 years of math required. It's actually going to be 4 required. And I have seen people start Algebra 1 as early as middle school, as far as 7th and 8th grade. I was actually speaking to another church. We had someone who was taking Algebra 1 as a 7th grader, and then they would be doing geometry as a 8th grader, and then Algebra 2 as a freshman, which was very advanced at that point, because most people do Algebra 2 as a junior. So if you can finish or start your math as early as Algebra 1 and 8th grade, then you're already ahead of the game. So then you take math for 4 years in high school. Then you have science. Science is 2 years, but please, if you're doing anything in the STEM fields, all 4 years. And if it's a 3rd or 4th year of science, please do the honors in the AP classes as well. Then we're looking at English. That's a language other than English, so typically Spanish, Latin, German, French. You can do 2 years, that's what's required, but I would do 4 if you can. Then you have your arts, that's the visual performing arts, typically 1 year, but you can do 1 or 2 if you like that, if you have time for it. And then you have your electives. And those are, every school has a completely different list of electives. Back to, I don't know if they might have it. On their website, they might have it as far as the list of electives, but if not, I want to show you another place. So if you put UC, A through G guide, just in the search, this will give you the list of all the classes offered at your high school. So if we put Stockdale, wait, is this how you say it, Stockdale?
STOCK.
It is, okay. Yeah. All right, and we put in search. There it is, course list. They'll tell you all the classes offered by category at the high school. So in history, they have 3 APs offered, so you definitely want to see if you can take those if you like history. English, they do have a good portion of AP, especially the last year's typically AP for English. You won't see a lot of AP before that as far as English. Algebra, looks like the highest here is, we have AP Stats and AP Calculus BC. So AB is the first part and then BC would be the second part. Then you have your science. They also have a lot of good AP stuff. So see how we weren't able to see the list of classes that they had in the beginning under the school profile? Now you can see under here, this tells you this high school is rigorous. So that just remember that you'll want to make sure you do very well academically. Okay, so going back to the,
Website, can you say the website that
oh, it's sorry. UC, if you go into the UC A through G approved, or here, go back to the search. Sorry. I put in UC A through G guide, and that's what happened. What came up, sorry. And then you'll see the A through G policy resource guide, and when I came here, I looked into, on the left there, search approved A through G list, and that's where I put the school's name, and I got all the classes. Okay. So just to refresh your memory how to get into college, there's technically 3 different ways. The first way is the traditional one, which is high school to college, which is a high school and then a public or a private, right, for a 4-year college. And then that's the first route. The second route is high school to a community college. You're there for 2 years, and then you transfer out of that community college, go to a 4-year, and then you're there for 2 years again. Sometimes 3, just depending on your major. And then the third route is the CHESQ, which is the CPP or CSP. They changed the name. That is the exit exam. If you take that, by the end of 10th grade, so you would be 16 years of age, you have to be 16 years of age, and finish with 10th grade. They give you a math and English test, and if you pass this test, you're pretty much done with high school. And then you go straight to community college though. Then you go from the community college to a 4-year again, and you do the transfer process. I've heard pros and cons about this, so here is some of the pros and cons. There are certain personalities for someone to do this route. The reason why is because it's very rigorous. You have to imagine someone that's 16 years of age going now to college and taking college level classes. If they've never taken college level classes before, it's gonna be an issue, just because they might not be as equipped academically. So if you are a student that's on the fence with doing this route, my advice to you is to try to take a community college class before you do that. And if you like it and it's something that you do very well in, you see yourself there, then fine. Do the Chesky route and finish in 2 years. We see a lot of students though that go to the community college because it's open to everyone, called the community college itself as an institution. It becomes difficult to find classes or classes that are going to be open for them because so many other people register in time before them. So we see a lot of the community college students stay there more than 2 years, and sometimes 2 or 3 or 4. So the 2 years that they saved at the high school, they added on at the community college. So just to give you kind of a background as to the pros and cons, and then the big part is the maturity aspect of it. Honestly, we've seen a lot of people do it because they think, oh, I don't want to be in high school anymore, it's not for me, I belong in college. If you are the type of student that's not taking your schedule seriously, you're not on top of your planner, you don't have due dates, you will lose track of that freedom that comes with college, and then you will not succeed academically. So I will just I'm going to only say that because if there's any more questions though, I can definitely mention at the end. Just, I don't want to say anything that might offend anyone. Okay. So with the application requirements, the only thing that I want to emphasize, again, is the SAT and ACT. If you have not thought about it, I would start looking at it just to help you for the application. How many Cal States did we say we have? 23. We have 23 campuses. They're everywhere. I believe the closest to you here, right here. Yeah, Bakersfield, nice. Very close to you then. So you have the pipeline that's going to help you. So that's another thing to know about for your high schools. Since you do have a close Cal State, they might have a pre-existing agreement, pipeline as you call it, with your high school to take you. It's almost like a guarantee admission. It's not, there's nothing guaranteed anymore. But because you're within the demographics and you're within their, if you're eligible for admission, you have their GPA, you have everything they need, eligibility-wise, they'll take you. So that's part of their agreement. That's how they had it back in Orange County for like Cal State Fullerton and whatnot. Back in the day though. Now, even people within the demographics still cannot get in. This is very competitive. But the Cal States, at least Bakersfield, is not as impacted. When I say impacted, meaning they're not taking, so when a school becomes impacted, let's say this church can only take 500 people. What if we get 1,000 people that come in one day? Now, this church becomes impacted. We can only take 500 people. So that's how a campus becomes impacted. They take too many applications, or not take, but they receive too many applications. They can only accept 30% of those. That's how it works. So that's why you see a lot of rejections right now, because they're getting so many apps. And it's not based off of your accomplishments, it's just based off of their numbers. They don't have that many professors that can teach all these classes, so they need to add more and more. So I will mention, if you see siblings or people that are getting rejected now, it's because of how many they can actually accept and how many people are actually applying.
Sandy, can you tell us what's the difference between Cal State, the UCs?
Yeah.
I'd like to know what's the difference between the
And we'll definitely touch base actually in the next slide as far as both campuses. The UCs, the biggest difference with the UCs is they have 9 campuses. So for you guys, would LA be the closest?
Yeah.
Okay. So LA would be the closest UC. And here's, well, I'll go over the UCs and Cal States right now. So when we're looking, yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
أنا بس مش فاهمة إيه مش فاهمة بس إيه الميزة في to go to BC أو sorry community college after grade 10 high school. What the advantage غير إن الولد عايز يطلع من high school؟
Honestly, that's it.
Okay, يعني على معلوماتي إن هو when he got 2 years after grade 10 in
Yeah.
college,
Yeah.
when he applied for to get his bachelor degree, he will stay only 2 years after the BC. So
Yes.
he's saving 2 years for the 4 college from 4 years of college, right?
Well, community college is still considered college, yes, but financially, don't worry about the money part. We'll get to the money part. But so as far as saving money in college, they're both considered college level
No,
courses.
no, I don't mean money. يعني هو طلع من grade 10 وراح على college.
Yeah.
I had 2 years.
Right.
To community. Then he applied for college. He will go to 3rd grade direct
Right,
to
right,
1st.
yes.
مش زي المتخرج من grade 10.
Exactly.
So he saved 2 years from the من سنه يعني إنه اتخرج.
Exactly. He
مش
sees
بس
2 years.
بس حضرتك قلتي يقعد 4 سنين في الكولج to get your bachelor's. It's not correct.
So-
He stayed just 2 years.
Yeah. So what I meant when I said that they stay longer at the community college, because of the open access. So community college has this thing where they take anyone, right? Anybody can apply, anyone can go to classes. When you have people going to community college for the first time, they haven't been there for 2 years, their enrollment date gets pushed back, so they're not able to enroll on time like other seniors. That's the first year at least. But then, to your point, yes, they are saving, no matter what, they're saving 2 years period. But it goes back to, are they gonna add that year or 2 at the community college, or are they gonna add it at the 4-year? If they're the type of student who is on top of their grades and studies, and they know they're only gonna be there for 2 years and they plan it out that way, we support it. I have a student who, she came from Egypt, finished high school there. They told her, okay, go to community college. She said, no, you're not ready to community college. You have to take freshman or senior year again in high school. So it's like, no, the Chesapeake is the better route because now you just go straight to community college. So that's a scenario that would work. But if someone is, oh, I just want to go to go to college early, that's not an excuse. Or if someone is, let's say, knowing they're going to be in medical school, they're going to be in school for the next 12 years, they want to save those 2 years, good, that's again, we want to make sure they have a plan. If not, they're going to lose that freedom. In college, they give you so much freedom, especially the schedule. Yes. Any questions, other questions? Yeah, no problem. I also forgot to give these out, but anybody else that participates will get one. I know you did, and then you did, so I'll give them to you. Okay, so the difference between the Cal State and the UCs first, and then I'll go over between the public and the private. Okay, so the the UCs and the Cal States. I'll tell you the Cal State first, because obviously I have experience in that, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the UCs. For the Cal States, you have, the campuses are still big in size. You know, you have 42,000, 48,000 students that attend. So it's pretty big. I wish I can show you pictures, but if you go to Fullerton, let's say, you can stand and you can see all the buildings from far away. They're all there, you can see them. But if I'm at UCI, same area, I can see 1 building, 2 buildings, maybe 3, and then all the other side, there's more and more buildings. So that's the difference between how spread out, maybe a UC and a Cal State as far as how big they are. How many students they take? Almost the same. 48,000, 42, between the 40s. That's the UCs and the Cal States as far as that. I'm not talking about privates because they have their own numbers, but we're looking at the Cal States. So that's just your campus look, not academics now. In a given class, At a Cal State level, you're looking at a class that could have 35 students to 65 students, depending on if it's a major class or one of your upper division general ed. So that's a fairly small course. Then you have at the UC level, if I'm taking a class, whether it's upper div, sometimes general ed, especially the general ed, you're looking at 100, 120 per class. They're usually what do they call it? They're like leveled seminar look. So having that in mind as far as a student-professor ratio, I am a professor, I would be in the middle of 65 students versus I'm a professor in the middle of 120 students. Maybe I don't know who's in the class. I might not know. There's too many people. But it's at the Cal State, they can tell who's in the room. So there's that. Then you have the academia part, the curriculum. So the Cal States, when you take a biology class versus a UC biology class, there'll be similarities, of course, especially the research aspect, because bio has a lot of terminology, theories, concepts you need to learn. Okay, great. So at a Cal State level, what they'll do is they'll attach a lab component or some type of hands-on learning for you to understand what you're learning. Versus the UC level, they might do more research and help you write a paper and still use the labs, of course, but they might not have it focused on hands-on learning. I will give you an example. When I was at Fullerton, one of the classes I loved so much because, yes, we had lecture for 30 minutes, but the rest of the class, we would go to the roof and we would have all kinds of activities to help us learn about one another and learn about what we did in lecture. So it gave me a balance of, yes, heavy content on lecture, but I'm also able to apply that. So that was the balance of the Cal State level. And then you have the privates. The privates are a little different. Some are very small and some are very huge. So I work at Pepperdine University. Do you guys know Pepperdine? No? Pepperdine. It's a Christian private school. We have one at Malibu. We have another campus at Calabasas, Irvine, and West LA. That's a Christian private school. Okay, how many do you think they have at the whole entire school, all 4 campuses? Yeah, how many do you think? 10,000 students. And they have 4 campuses, but they have 10,000, and that's a private school. Versus USC, how many do they have? They're also private. They're also in California and downtown LA, but not Christian. How many do you think they have? Students. You're very close, yeah, about 65,000 or so. That's just the privates. They vary. There's not a specific number. Some will be Christian based, and some will be all women's based. Like I used to work at Mount St. Mary's. Everyone there is girls. Maybe like 10 guys on the whole campus. Then you have Occidental College. That was where Obama went. There was about maybe 4,000 students total. Not too bad. But again, these are private schools that have a specific focus. And if you're focusing on the private schools, really select a private school for what they're known for and for their network, because you're paying for that. And if you're not paying for it, the scholarships are paying for it. So just remember, where do I put the scholarship money? Do I put it toward a school that's going to help me, or am I going to help them? Okay. Just the big difference between the public and the private real quick. As you know, still this campus size is a big difference. Tuition cost is the biggest difference. I'll tell you about that in a bit here. And they talked about the religious aspects of it. Okay, great. Okay. All right, so I'm done with the academic part as far as how to get into college. Oh, that's weird. Any questions before I get into the financial aid part?
So, let's say campus based.
Yeah.
When you look at, the university, before you go to university, you have to consult with the
So your question is, should I take my general ed classes at the Cal State level, the UC level, or do I go with the community college level, save my money? Okay. So there's a lot of, these are 3 different options, right? You have your community college, your UCs, and the Cal States. Every school, yes, has the general ed classes. I agree with you, yes, but remember I was saying the difference in learning, the difference in curriculum. The way they approach things is going to be different, especially the Cal States and the UCs. Now, if you look at the community college, whether community college, UCs, and Cal State, 100% different. The community college curriculum or academic rigor is not as challenging as the Cal States and the UCs. So if you have someone that's a community college student that's take a bio class, I took a bio class at IBC, I promise you, I got 97% in that class at a community college. I promise you I would not get that 97% at the Cal State. It's hard to get it. They make it more rigorous for you to challenge you to learn. So it's not a bad thing, it's just, it helps you learn more. And so, back to your first point though, you said something about, is it gonna affect how my employer sees it or how I graduate? Not at all. So if I'm hiring you coming from UC Berkeley, and let's say both of you graduated from UC Berkeley, but one transferred in, I don't care how you started. I wanna know what you did at Berkeley and what you did at any college at that point. If they transferred, what did they do going in and how did they continue that on? What we love to see is a resume, because I'm not gonna hire someone, let alone admit someone to grad program if they just have a GPA. I need to see a resume, an internship, some solid story. So that goes for grad school, and that goes for if they're done with school and looking for a job, they're still gonna be looking at that resume. So any school you go to, it does not matter where you start. So if you say, oh, I was a transfer, it doesn't look bad. Now, I know your focus is on how to get to the end goal, but I would emphasize what that does to the student when they are transferring and focusing on that versus being at the four-year college from the beginning. It does give you peace of mind. If I'm there now for 4 years, I'm going to focus on what do I need to do in that school for the next 4 years versus someone who has to transfer. Oh, I have to apply again, I have to make sure I have my personal statement in the next 2 years. So it stresses them out, and that's all they're focused on is transferring versus focusing on all the other things that come with college. So I just want to make that point. My brother went to community college, we did the opposite route. He still went to Cal State Fullerton, but he was at IBC for 3 years, and then went straight to Cal State Fullerton in business. So did the employer see where they started? No. They saw that he has a bachelor's degree in business, top 7 ranked at Fullerton. That's what they saw. They didn't see IBC at all. Yeah.
هو السؤال ممكن يكون شبه.
Sure.
After the 4 years of getting the bachelor degree and you apply for school, for example, School of Medicine.
Sure.
بتفرق انت واخد البachelor degree من Cal State او UCS an image مش الشغل. احنا
Yes, yes.
بص تحت رجلينا شويه. يعني لما تيجي بعدين بقى هل الاكسبتنس في التقديم يعني يقولوا لا ده واخد البachelor degree من Cal State وده واخدها من UC لا هاخد الباقي ولا مش بتفرق؟
مش بتفرق الدبلومة، بس بتفرق عملوا ايه بالديجري. What did they apply with? And when you apply for medical school, you're applying with a letter of rec, which is huge. You're applying for a resume with a resume, which has all your clinical hours if you've done that. And then your transcripts, which is going to be an added bonus, of course. But the biggest thing is your resume and your letter of rec. If I do not have a good relationship with a professor at a UC, then it doesn't work, you know? And the same thing with the Cal States. I will mention too though, كل مدرسة has their own concentration and strength. So if I am for sure going to do bio or pre-med, and I got accepted into UC Berkeley and Cal State Long Beach, Berkeley all the way, because they have the UC, the research component, and they're just known heavily in their medical program. So the reason also why, if you see that the school itself has a medical program, like a med school, attached to their that probably will help a lot of undergrad students learn the right way in labs and whatnot. So it gives them like that boost. Oh, look, they were equipped at Berkeley. So yes, there's an advantage there. It goes back to the major, honestly. If you told me someone applied with journalism at Berkeley, it would be like, why journalism? Why Berkeley at SEA? There's other schools that might have journalism that are better at that. But these are all good questions. Yes.
So, I had a question about like joining AP classes. Because what I've seen in junior high is everything you join has to have requirements. Do these AP classes also have requirements?
In a way, they have requirements, but they want to make sure they prepare you to succeed. So when you are being evaluated to take an AP class, they're going to look at your existing grades now. They'll be like, okay, what is he taking? Are they all college level courses? Are they maybe some honors here, some regular class? Are they doing A's at least? Is there maybe one B in there? So as long as you're showing them that you're academically prepared to take an AP class, they should allow you to take it. No one should be like, no, you can't take it. Unless you're really not doing well, then it's not going to help you. So back to selecting an AP class, I would just pick a subject that you really love and make that an AP subject. And then, you're not even in high school, right? So I would start off with maybe one as a sophomore, and then if you like it, take more and more as you continue on. Anyone else? Okay, yeah.
How can many AP classes affect or affect you making a decision?
How many AP classes you take that affects the college decisions? Yeah, so he asked how many college AP classes, or how many AP classes affect the college admissions process. It goes back to how many AP classes are being offered at your school. If they're not offering as many, that's okay. Take as many as you can and just do well. Now, if they're offering a lot, like we just saw with the Stocksdale High School, you gotta take some, a lot, just because they're already offering so much. So if you can, that would be great. Yes.
So, back to the slide where you got all the requirements. If I do choose to take the exit instead,
Yeah.
will that affect the amount of years I need?
Oh, that's a good question. So once you are done with the CHESP or the CPP exam, you don't have to take those classes anymore. You only take them until sophomore year and you're done. Yeah, that's why they don't let you go to a 4-year, because you haven't fulfilled the A through G. So the only option is to go to a community college. Yes.
What is the difference between an honors class and an AP?
Good question. So both technically still give you a boost towards your GPA, and it helps your GPA, instead of being out of 4.0, it'll be out of a 5.0 for high school. The biggest thing with honors, it doesn't give you the college level work, but it still gives you a little bit more of a challenging curriculum than a college prep class. So if I'm taking a regular bio class, comparing it to an honors bio, you might have more readings a week, you might have some more papers to write, definitely more reading, I'll say that, but it's not as heavy as the AP class. The AP class treats it as a college class. So they are going to treat you, expecting you to read like a college student every week, let's say 3 or 4 chapters. And then you might reflect on some of these chapters as a paper. And then you might have an exam. Also, AP classes, to use them for college credit, you have to take the AP exam at the end of the college, at the AP class. So if you take an AP class as a sophomore in bio, let's say, which is not possible, but if you would say take AP bio, you finish AP bio the first year, and then you take that AP exam, and then if you score between 3 or 4 or 5 out of 5, then you passed it. And then you could use that score to transfer it to college level as a bio class. Yeah.
How do credits help you with college?
How do credits help you with college? So typically, it's an indicator that you're ready to take college level courses at the college level when they see your application. The way it works is it's like a transfer process. So when you go to college, you do, depending on your major, but typically minimum 120 units. That's typically 30 units a semester, or sorry, a year, which is 15 units a semester, which is about 5 classes a semester, because every class is about 3 units. So let's say you took an AP Bio class, that's a 3-unit class that you could transfer in. And the way that would work in college, I've known someone who took 6 or 7 AP classes in high school. He ended up going to Berkeley in engineering and finishing in only 3 years because he had a lot of AP credit. So that got him a boost. And of course, he probably took some summer classes too. Another thing for you all is to try to take community college classes in the summers. That way you're preparing academically as well. Yes?
So you know how, like, take SATs in junior year?
Yes?
Take it in high school, or elementary school?
Yes?
What if you do worse than senior?
Then I would submit the higher score if you can. If you can take it again, you can, because then you can send them the one that you took, the higher one, and then in the application, you can say the date for the one that's planned, which would be for spring. That's totally fine, but as long as you send it. If it's higher, even better, but just make sure you send it. All right, so I'm sure you're wondering how much this is all gonna cost you, but if you all are here, you should not be worried about how much it's gonna cost you. To be quite frank, all of you should be able to get scholarships in the next 4 or 5 years, if you do it well, do it right, I mean. Okay. So, going into how much it's gonna cost. Oh, sorry. Thank you guys. So, the cost it varies per per school, and the way it works is community college is the cheapest, and then it goes into, so it's community college and then Cal States and then UCs and then the privates. That's the most expensive. So if you're looking at the first row, that's really the most important row. The rest of the rows, you're not really going to pay that unless it applies to you. So we'll talk about that. So the first row, community college, is about $1,300 a year. This is, by the way, per year amounts. Then you have your Cal States is about $6,500 a year. Then you have your UC is about $14,000, $15,000 a year. And then your privates, that includes all the way from Mount St. Mary's all the way to USC and Harvard, and that's about $75,000. My school at USC alone for grad school was $88,000. But then you have, that's a different process for grad school. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Cal State Fullerton though, I remember I don't think I paid anything. I paid for books, but all of it was through FAFSA. And I'll tell you how to get all that paid for. And I was not, not your high achieving student. Remember, I was struggling. I was not the 4-point-something student. So to get into Fullerton and to get all 4 years paid was a blessing. But for you all will have the high achieving profile and the grades, everything. And how many of you consider yourself first gen students? Meaning, mom and dad did not go to school in the US, they went to the school in Egypt, but they did not get a degree from the US. Like I'm first gen, so for example, mom and dad, they have a bachelor's degree in Egypt, but they don't have it from here. They didn't get any degree from here, so look first gen. So that's good. The reason I ask that is because they give scholarships to those who are first gen students. When they do that, they know that the student does not have the support by mom and dad, so they give them the support at school and they give them scholarships, which is the money. So I was an EOP student, it was called Educational Opportunity Program. You'll see it at the Cal State level and you'll see it at the UC level too, but it's for students that are first gen coming from a low income household that need additional support at the college. So I did that and I got $1,500 every term, so $3,000 total for the first year as a first gen student as EOP. So that's just one little example of how much support they can give you, and sometimes they'll pay for all of it. You don't have to worry about it. So going back to fees, the first row is tuition. The rest of the rows, if it's room and board, that's housing. How many of you think you have to live on campus? Because you are too far away from the school, you have to live on campus. If you have to do that, you have to pay for room and board, which is another $16,000, at least at the UC level. At the Cal State level, it's about $12,000, maybe a little bit more, depending on the package. So when they have you live on campus, you get to pick how many times you eat in the week. They give you like a meal plan. Do you want to eat 3 times a week, 7 times a week? Obviously, the other times you eat on your own. But the ones that they actually pay for is under that meal plan. And then they give you housing. You get to pick, do I want to have a roommate or do I want to have a solo room? The alone you are, the more you pay. If you have roommates, it gets cheaper. So if you are not living on campus and you're going to say, let's pick a school, let's pick UCLA, yeah? I want to go to UCLA, so it's going to cost me almost $16,000. Do I want to live on campus? Do you guys want to live on campus? You want to try that or no? So let's add another $15K to that. How much is that? How much? Almost 30, right? So 30,000, that's how much they said it's going to cost you to come to UCLA and to live on campus. Okay. The rest of these numbers are really irrelevant unless you're going to be going to mom and dad every weekend and you're going to be commuting like crazy, then yes, of course, gas is going to add up, commute is going to add up, of course. And then you have other personal expenses. If you do spend a lot of money on other things, especially when you go to college, you have a lot of freedom financially to spend money. So just be careful on how much you spend money on. Then you have, sorry. Okay, then you have your total down here, which is not relevant right now. So we're at 30,000. This is not supposed to be. So it's at 30,000. That's UCLA. As a student, when you apply to FAFSA, FAFSA is an umbrella that covers multiple types of aid. So if I apply a one-time application, I list all the schools I'm applying for, and by the way, FAFSA, they give you up to 20 different schools now to add. They used to give you 10, so now you have up to 20 schools to add if you're applying to that many. So then you add all the schools. FAFSA says, oh, you put UCLA on there. Okay, cool. So then they'll take UCLA's application, process the cost of attendance, and say, to come to UCLA, it costs us $30,000. You said on FAFSA that your income is so-and-so and your household size is so-and-so. We want to give you this much in money. And that becomes something called Financial Aid Award Letter. What that letter looks like has all these amounts. Has your loans, your grants, your work study, and your scholarships. How many of those are not considered free? Which one is not free? The federal loans. So I have to pay those back. But under the FAFSA umbrella, I get all of these good stuff. Can I get more scholarships on top of this? Can I get more? I can definitely get a lot more. So if I wanted to tell mom and dad, you don't have to worry about anything. Everything will be paid. You can do that. Did mom and dad pay for anything for me? You can call them right now. They didn't pay anything at all. Because you have to have a plan. Scholarship, and of course, your FAFSA. So FAFSA then says, okay, we're gonna, oh, yeah.
I have a question. What is the time begin of the mom and dad's income?
I get that question all the time. So we don't have a certain, like a break of how much they'll give you. Typically, we've seen a lot of low-income households get it up until 150,000 in the household side, or household income, sorry. I know a lot of parents think, oh, I'm not gonna apply if I make too much money. Please apply, because FAFSA has their own equation, their own way of examining how much they're gonna actually give you. So please apply, because they've given people money that make up to 150. It goes back to the household size and the income, and where you're going to school. Cost of attendance is important. If they see that you want to go to USC and you are low income, they will give you up to 95% paid. If you're going to Cal State Fullerton and you're also low income, they'll give you up to 95%. But it goes back to what school are you going to. They can't give you the same amount they're going to give you to USC. They'll give you whatever you're going for that school.
What
So,
is the difference?
so if I got accepted to Fullerton and USC, they'll only give me $15,000 for Fullerton, and they'll give me $55,000 for USC. See the difference? Because of the cost of attendance.
Okay.
Yeah, they do it based off cost of attendance. They don't do it based off, oh, we'll just give them money. No, they're going to this school, they need this much money, so we'll give it to them based off of their income.
Okay, so they give as needed.
So it's a need-based application. There's now the, yeah,
And
how I know like federal law or grant or FAFSA is
the
choose
breakdown,
that?
yeah. So in the letter, they send it to you. So let's say you've applied to UCLA, now you got accepted to UCLA, now you're waiting on your award letter. It will come in the mail or an email, and they'll have it broken down as a letter. It'll say, this is how much you got in loans, this is how much you got in grants. Do you want to accept or do you want to reject it? So they'll give you a breakdown of everything they want to give you, and then you get to deny or accept it. Yeah. But most of the time, if you're considered low income and first gen and all that good stuff, because they'll ask you, did mom and dad go to high school? On the FAFSA application should say high school graduate. Don't even say college. Yeah.
For parents,
For parents, yeah.
and this letter is coming from colleges.
Yeah.
حتى لو الولد didn't admit for this
Yes,
college,
yes.
if he applied for 4 and he was accepted for 4, he will get 4 offers
Yes.
before saying
The admission. Yeah. That's the bigger problem. We get a lot of students that they get an award letter and they think, oh, I got accepted. I'm like, no. You said you put them as a school on the FAFSA application. They're just giving you a letter just in case you come. Because they don't work with the admissions team. Oh, we admitted these people, give them financial aid. It doesn't work that way.
Oh.
Yeah. But back to your point, if you're low income first gen student, most of the time, 95% of it is paid, most of the time, through FAFSA. And when I say low income, like honestly, it's varying at this point what that looks like. So it goes back to where you live and all that, and how many people live in your household. At that time, I'll tell you, like very honest, we were at 4 people, and I think we were at like maybe 80K at that point. So that was considered low income. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question for FAFSA.
Yeah.
So, does FAFSA depend on like high school credit or high school achievements, or is it just need-based?
It's all based on need, yeah. But to answer your question, what's really dependent on your accomplishments is the scholarships. So FAFSA will give you, we said, the work study, the loans, and the grants. They'll give you some scholarships from the school. You'll say university grant or whatever. That's from the school. But then there are tons of scholarships out there that have not been sometimes used, or they are being used, and they can give you a full ride. What's a full ride? Pretty much the whole entire school is free. Like nothing you have to worry about, but you have to apply. So we do, and part of the email you all will get, we have a list of all the scholarships that are out there. So far, we tried at least. All the ones that are full rides and based off your major, based off of first year transfer. And they're all hyperlinked, and you can go in and see when they're due and what the requirements are, and then create a plan. Even as, if you're a freshman even, create a plan on which ones you're gonna apply for, because remember what I said earlier, anyone in this room should be getting a full ride in the next 6 years. I'll go here, here, and then, yeah. Oh, good question. So they just actually changed the deadlines and all that good stuff. So we're looking at December, like pretty much New Year's time. It starts the application, and now they extended to May, which is very annoying. But it's typically May the deadline. Do not wait till May because it's first come first serve. So typically New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, apply as much as you can, or apply. Period. The way it works, it's like think about it as a pot of gold. If I have a pot of gold right here now, all of you are going to come grab it. Whoever comes first will get the most. So that's just how it works with FAFSA. You said deadline. Oh, and then you apply every year, starting senior year, every year, even in college. And the taxes that they use is typically 2 years prior. So if we're applying this year for 2024, 2025, we'll be using 2022 taxes.
I just have a question because if we are not filing taxes before, this will affect our application to FAFSA?
Good question. I will, before I even answer that question, there is 2 types of FAFSA applications, by the way. There is one for those who are permanent residents and U.S. citizens, and then there's one that's called the California DREAM Act for those who are not permanent residents and are not documented. So I'll just mention that. The FAFSA application itself, though, if you are not someone who's filed taxes, then you would connect with your CPA to show that you were either not here to file taxes or you were, like you had no income. It would be 0 for your taxes. But you still have to file taxes to show that you had no income. On the FAFSA application, though, there's a question that says, are you planning on doing taxes? You can say, I will file, I'm not going to file, or I file. So in your case, you can say, I'm not going to file, and there's going to be a lot of questions. So
If I
instead,
am going to file, but I am not fulfilling the 2 years.
oh yeah, that's fine. They'll use whatever you have for that current year.
This will be, so because we was having a question for my son case, he just came from 1 year, so it is not enough for, they need 3 years for FAFSA to apply.
Yeah, yeah. Let's connect after. I'll talk more about that, yeah. Okay, yes.
So you said the podcast you apply senior year. How does that correlate with the take the exam?
Good question. So the exit exam, you would be done with high school. Because you would apply to Cody College the next year, like that same year potentially, because the minute you finish the CHESP is probably by spring of sophomore year. So you'll probably start community college that fall. So you want to apply as soon as you can, like anytime at that point. Because the way FAFSA works is they don't like close the application. Yes, it's due by a certain date, but it's still open. You can go in and add an application and submit it normal. It's just that the issue here is how much funds you'll get. So in your case, if you know for a fact that you're going to do this CHESP route, and you're going to apply, or you're going to start that fall, then I would apply for FAFSA the previous fall, which would be that New Year's prior.
And then for FAFSA, we talked about that the parents' income effect on FAFSA. So you said for low income, let's say for the middle class income, the big, the taxes big, and the one who get the first generation and done with the like board exam, for the application for their kids for college, for universities, how much you can accept them or if there's any route other people accept to get the financial aid because they got the air, they got the
Sorry, I didn't understand the first part. Why wouldn't they get financial aid at the career?
In FAFSA, I think, let's say for the middle class parents,
Yeah, yeah.
the taxpayers. هي FAFSA حساب قد ايه؟
Oh, yeah, besides, yeah, it
And
depends.
I feel like it's helpful more like the one who will pay.
Don't have, of course.
But the middle class, the most of us, all
process, honestly. It's not like, oh, here's the list of scholarships. You have to go and do an extensive research on, okay, the Bill Gates one, for example, the Jack Kent Coke one, or the Coca-Cola one. Those are all third-party scholarships, but they have their own due dates, their own application, sometimes personal statements too. So you have to go check each one of them and see the eligibility criteria too. Because some of them, they'll say, oh, you have to be first-gen student and you have to have this GPA. So if it doesn't apply to you, you can't apply. So the same thing with something called Quest Bridge. Quest Bridge is another full ride almost, but they match you at your school and they give you that money based off of the match. So really, if you are a parent that's not considered low income or middle class, I would for sure make sure your student's high achieving, to make sure they have the profile, the GPA and the grades, to apply for scholarships to hopefully get a full ride. That's honestly, for me, I have the same problem, because I have now a master's degree. Any kids I have, they're gonna have to rely heavily on scholarships. Yeah? FAFSA is not gonna help as much. They'll give you like, maybe 40%, 80%, depends on, again, how middle class you are. Remember I was saying how FAFSA has funds up to $150,000 for household income. So they can give you a lot more. You just have to apply early. Yeah. Okay, yes.
Let's say something applies for CSU, for postgraduate and undergraduate, they apply for this. Does FAFSA cover both, or can only cover one?
FAFSA will cover your tuition for every year. So since you apply every year, that's the only way they're gonna reevaluate how much you need. So if I went to UCLA, let's say I got accepted, I would have to apply every year for my bachelor's degree. And then if I'm planning to go for a doctorate degree, then I have to apply again, so I can get FAFSA for a graduate program. For a graduate school, anything in the medical school, anything beyond really a bachelor's degree, you do need to consider loans. There's not a lot of free money, so it's either going to be loans or scholarships. And most of the time, at the med school level, they will give you a full ride if you are like the top 5, top 3 student. So again, what I'm trying to say is it's all going to come down to your grades and your scores to get those scholarships. Yeah. We have 1, 2, and 3. Yes.
What's the difference between the federal loan and the student loan?
Nice. They're the same. So he said, what's the difference between the student and federal loan? So this federal loan is a student loan. Now, the loans can be either subsidized or unsubsidized, meaning I can have a loan that builds interest or a loan that just remains the same amount. So when I take 1,000 out as a freshman, let's say it's a subsidized loan, that remains 1,000. If I take 1,000 unsubsidized, then I take that 1,000 becomes 1,500. So that's just the loans. When you are reviewing your financial aid award letter, the financial aid award letter, yeah, you have a question? No, student loans will have, no matter what, if it has a loan attached to it, it does have interest. Then it goes back to, is it subsidized or unsubsidized? If it's unsubsidized, then it does have the interest. If it's subsidized, there's no interest. Yeah. Now, loans can be typically under FAFSA is the best type of loan. Unless you're trying to go through your bank and they have a better interest rate, sure. But I would try to go through FAFSA because they have a way where you can go on income-based payment plans after you graduate, and sometimes they give you a grace period after you graduate as well. So it just depends on the agreement. We'll go here and then there.
ممكن نستخدم المايك عشان نسمع.
For the colleges or VCs in general, do they look at the high school sport degrees or semester grades?
They look at your 10th through 12th grade period. All the GPA from 10th to 12th grade. Yes, they'll still look at freshmen to see how you did, but it doesn't go into the GPA.
And they do that quarters, quarter grades too.
No, the final grade. The final grade, yeah. The quarter is for you really to know. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry, yes. No, can we give it to the one behind you? Sorry.
How fast that works with 18-year and older students? Do they depend on their parents' income tax, or do you depend on their home if they're working?
Yes, I believe it's actually up until they're 26 that they can get FAFSA still, or as a dependent on their parents. Once they hit 26, they're not independent. They no longer are eligible. Now that's just based off of age, but if it's based off of degree type, let's say I am, I don't know, 20, and I'm about to get my degree, my master's degree, they're not going to consider me dependent on my parents anymore. Because I have a bachelor's degree, I will eventually now have to rely heavily on loans. And any loans that I get are under my name, they're not going to be under my parents' name. Unless I take out something called the Graduate Plus loan, that's under my parents' name as well. Just as a cosign as well. FAFSA will apply. I mean, FAFSA, no matter your age or if your parents support you or not, you can still apply to FAFSA. It just goes back to what your taxes look like 2 years prior.
For the student.
Yeah.
The student works over 18.
Same thing. Even if they're over 18, they'll still be using your info.
So the parents have.
Yeah, because on the FAFSA app, they use their info and your household income as well.
What if the student is
Independent, what age though?
over 18?
Even if they're over 18, they're still able to have the parents be part of the FAFSA application. Are you saying that this person is not on your taxes, like you don't have them as dependent? Okay, then they are treated as independent. They will have their own taxes and everything to report, but that would be something I need to get back to you on as far as if they would get full tuition or they would get a certain amount based off their dependency. So we can definitely touch base after as far as if they're independent in college, because I haven't seen that a lot, to be honest. You've done the taxes where they have been out of it 2 years prior as well? Because they're going to ask for that.
Just for the future.
Okay. Just make sure the 2 years prior to that, they're also not dependent on you. Because they're using the 2 years prior, not the taxes from the previous year. We'll go here and then anybody here. Yeah.
So what other scores does FAFSA look at other than the final score? And like how can for example, how can the party play with the community? How can
You're saying FAFSA does not look at your grades. I will mention that. No. FAFSA only looks at your income, money, and the household size. But they don't do anything based off of grades. What is based off of grades, though, is the scholarships. Those are off grades, yes. And they look at your grades all throughout high school. Pretty much your GPA. Yeah.
And they just look at the GPA by itself, not any community
GPA, scores, personal statements if they require it, maybe even a resume. Like, I'll tell you, our scholarship for Merit Achievement Scholarship for CF, we look at 2 personal statements. We look at the transcript, the GPA, especially the A through G classes, and then we look at the letter of rec and the resume. So, yeah, it's the same classes. We have $1,500 scholarship for high school seniors going to 4-year, or community college transfers going to a 4-year as well. The deadline would be May 6th. We launched it March 15th, and it's due May 6th. As a high school senior or community college transfer. Yeah.
So, I know when people in high school that they have side jobs first. If we choose to apply for FAFSA, will the money they give you, will it get lower because you have a side job?
With FAFSA, as a student, if you have employment, you can report that. It's all self-reported. The way it works is if you do not file taxes though, you don't have to worry about reporting that. So if you make, I think, anything more than 6,000 as an employee, then you have to file taxes. But if not, then you don't have to worry about filing those taxes and it wouldn't affect FAFSA. But if, let's say, you file taxes and your mom and dad file taxes, now that's considered all one joint income, part of your FAFSA application. So as long as you don't make more than 6,000. And then the question we had at the beginning, the savings fund, it does affect them negatively. Yeah. Because it's considered additional income towards what you already have.
So what's your advice for that?
Just, you can still have, well, you can have a way to still store that money for them, which is not under that name, so it doesn't affect them. And then, again, scholarships. But every school has them. Every private school, they will have, like USC, if I show you, they have at least 10 or 20 full ride. I was on the committee for 2 years, and they gave 65,000 just like that. But so you have to apply, and you have to do well too, with the interview and all that. But we're here to help though. We're not gonna leave you alone. Okay, so last thing here, I just have an assignment for you guys. It's hidden, I'm sorry. Oh, there it is, okay. So, how many of you do not have like a solid list of activities or a resume of some sort? Oh, sorry. Yeah, how many of you do not have that? Like, just don't have a resume? Okay, so I will show you something on the board here. So this is something that's going to be in the email as well. And I like it because it helps kind of keep you organized with what you're doing from now until you're applying. So you'll have this attached on your email, so you have it. But you see how it goes by what the activity is, the type of activity. It goes by the name of the position that you're doing, the description of what you do, then the grade of when you do this, and then the time commitment. Do I do this per week? How many hours per week? How many weeks per year? And then lastly, just to rank them if you want to. The reason why we do this is that way you can add everything that you want, and then when you apply, copy and paste. That's all you have to do. And on the application, they give you up to 20 different slots. And for the job description, for the description itself, they give up to 500 words for you to actually write something about it. So remember that they're going to also be reading those, the description.
When they should start?
As soon as possible, because they forget. So once they're involved in something, that's going to continue on in high school.
So which grade? And just high school?
Even if it's something they're going to continue on in high school. Let's say they're doing soccer as an 8th grader, and they're going to continue soccer as a high school, add it, because they could use that in the college apps. Good questions, all. I think we have, yeah, this one. So these are all our platforms. We'd love to have you follow us on a couple platforms. Instagram is one of them, Facebook is one of them, YouTube and LinkedIn. We always our Instagram, almost every day we post. So we're Coptic Education Foundation, that's our handle. If you can just follow us, and I promise we always post very important info between workshops, scholarships, how to get involved. Here's some events coming up, so we try to do that on social media as much as we can. And then of course your mentor Nabi is also someone that you can ask for any questions and we'll help guide you. And this is our info here. So myself is on the top right corner, Catherine as well on the left there. And then the center is our Instagram, which is it's Coptic Education Foundation, the website, and then the email. If you have any questions, but again, my info is on the right corner if you have any questions. I think that was it. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll take any questions you guys have. This was a great turnout. No? Yeah. It's not as hard. It's similar to the senior process when you're applying as a senior for PIQs. You want to have a solid resume of some sort, you're showing what you've been doing. They don't ask for it, but you're going to have to write that in the application for the 20 slots. That's equivalent to a resume. So to answer your question, if you are willing to go through that whole process again as a second year, because you're going to be applying that fall the second year, up to you. Now, how hard is it? It's the same process, but at the college level, I will say the transfer admission rates are higher than the first year rates because they accept more transfer students. The reason why is because they don't have other places to go. They'll accept a little bit more than first year students. Yeah. They accept both because the transfers have a higher chance just because they're transfers. Yeah. Yeah. I want to give some of you some stickers. You guys were awesome. We made these actually by the CF, and it has education is my jam. Anybody wants one? If you want one, just raise your hand. I'll bring it to you. Every year, twice a year actually, for middle school and high school. So hopefully, God willing, I can come back for